going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having a night. We're back with another week of streams. Of course, we have our movie review for this week, which is The Karate Kid. We're starting a new docu-series called The Toys That Made Us, and if anyone who's kind of like a late Xer to millennial will definitely have the feels, or will be hitting the feels a little bit with this docu series because it talks about like all the great like toy brands,
Yeah.
from pretty much our childhood, and it kind of goes in the deep dive, like like the deals and what the companies went through to procure licensing agreements and just like the history behind some of the maybe iconic and favorite toy brands.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun taking a look at that series.
Yeah, and I mean, fittingly, the very first episode is about Star Wars toys. And that is the one we will be reviewing. The docu series was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still available, but
it's still available on Netflix.
It's still available. Okay.
I think it's the Netflix original docu series, kind of like Tiger King and all these.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So they're never gonna take that down. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, and we're also gonna be talking about election stuff. Nothing too deep. I don't know. Who knows?
We'll do like a little bit of a hodgepodge of things.
Yeah, different ideas, or maybe some things that are just like kind of weighing on our minds. But we're gonna get all in that. We're gonna get all to it in your favorite, sometimes 2 hours of listening. I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we go longer, and it's just because the conversations just go that way, and because originally this stream was supposed to be only an hour long, but subsequently we just kind of like started adding more things, or the things that we talk about just kind of just go on a little bit longer, but that's all right because that's kind of how conversations work, and sometimes they go off on tangents, they go off on little rabbit trails, but they eventually come back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the fun of conversations.
Exactly.
And so, I guess we'll get into it. But before we get jump into that, just a little quick catch up with Rod. Even though again, it was one of those weekends where we pretty much spent the entire weekend together.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of you this month.
Yeah,
more than usual. Which is fine. I'm glad. Like we've been able to like watch like a bunch of like movies together, which is
especially
always
for like it's like mainly it's sometimes it's been more related to podcast stuff, but it's it's still a good time. We're still having. We still enjoy each other's company, and
but even like when it's not, like, because we watched a bunch of movies that honestly, like, even that movies that we're not reviewing currently. Maybe there might come a time that we do, but
that's true.
We've been watching a bunch of stuff, which has been a lot of fun, and just hanging out, sharing food, sharing some drinks, just having a good old time. Like, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't seem like work when we're hanging out.
No, definitely not. I mean, maybe for you, because I know how much you and my wife get along. So
yeah, I know it's that's the only part that feels like work, because it's constantly having to
compare it to like the those like the fish that surround sharks, like that, like that the sharks tolerate because they eat like all the gunk off of the sharks.
Yeah, like they're basically cleaner fish, and
Yeah,
it's very much like a symbiotic relationship. But
that's kind of the relationship
it's
you and my
weird
wife.
though because like I don't give her anything, or at least like I try not to. Because like because she's after like that elusive validation from me. And I for sure don't give that. So
If
yeah,
you ever give her like any validation, that would like make her life.
I know kind of sadly I know. So I kind of don't understand why it's so important to her to have my validation, but
Well, she does like you a lot, Andy. That's why.
I know it's
All I hear
really.
about it is like now it's like it's all like Andy, is Andy gonna come over? Andy.
I know, yeah.
Are you sure you want Andy to come over? Like, hey, did you even ask him if he wants to come over?
I
You're
know,
just
right?
making,
I mean, like she has my number. Like she can call me.
yeah.
I'm gonna say no, but she can still call me. She can call me.
But I love how she'll like just declare it's like, oh, Andy, you're coming over. Like, are you telling me or are you asking me?
Yeah, I know exactly. It's just like when did I say I was? But it's.
And it's just like, honey,
Yeah.
if you just say it this way, and you don't have like that those puppy dog eyes just looking for Andy to just say what is in it, like what you want him to say, you'll get your way. You just have to know how to say it.
I know. It's just like it's okay if I say this because I know she doesn't watch this stream, but I tolerate your wife. I really do. And she does. She just doesn't have to. She just has to not come on that strong. She really doesn't. It's just
I
like
that 100,000 times.
I know. I give her the answers. It's like it's like in high school, and the teacher just gives you the answers. That's what I'm doing. I say, hey, just don't come on to me that strong. Just be like, hey, you want to come over? It's like whatever. I don't care. And like like really like mean it, or kind of just like, or have a better poker face.
Exactly.
And just.
The thing is, though, Andy, she would spontaneously combust.
I know, it's. Yeah, but I even asked her like, oh, what if one day, what if I just started like, uh, acting the way you do every time, I came over, or like, just in general, I started like kind of like over the top, very demonstrative. It's like, would you like that? And then she even said that she wouldn't like that, because it wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
But then she puts herself, she makes herself crazy by, whenever I do act like myself, and it's just like, it's like, oh, Andy hates me.
I also love because we were watching what was it, Karate Kid this weekend in preparation for today.
Yeah.
And we're like, honey, you'll like this movie, like, or you at least give the movie a chance. I think it has like some elements of stuff you'd like in it. I think she gave it all a grand total of like 2 seconds.
She didn't even get past the opening credits. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, she didn't get past the opening credits. Yeah. But miraculously, she'll be able to sit through the movie that she wanted to watch.
Oh, miraculous! But yeah, because we ended up watching a couple of movies that like I had a good feeling that she would like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm slowly like we're slowly getting there. Like I got her to enjoy a movie that I was surprised that she really enjoyed was Eyes Wide Shut. Which is why, I mean, for me, it's one of my favorite movies.
That's probably all the nudity.
Huh?
That's probably all the nudity.
No, but even like when because obviously she sometimes will require me to become the DVD commentary,
right,
for a movie. But even like like on some of the stuff that I was talking about, she's like, "Oh, okay, that's why they're doing that, or that's why like the character's acting this way." So I mean, yeah, the nudity definitely helped, but but I think she actually liked the story,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and I can already tell like it's another like rant of mine, like because my wife is obsessed with those mukbang videos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, God, I hate them so much. Like I said, all the food looks delicious. I would
Uh-huh.
love to see how it's prepared or them commenting on the food,
Uh-huh.
but just listening to somebody like just fucking chewing
Uh-huh.
on stuff, oh, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Uh, I don't know. Maybe yeah. Maybe that'll be maybe that can be the next show that we do. You know, circular drugs and mukbang.
Maybe
But maybe we can do like a little bit different and like actually go through the process of like making something and then like enjoying it afterwards.
yeah. I mean, we could definitely try that.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause I don't know like how much like I'd be into like doing like an edited like show for that. But if we just like set up, if we could just set up like maybe you can just do it a live stream.
Could do
We
that
could
too. Yeah.
we just turn into a live stream show and I don't know. I'm not making any promises. So, but
Yeah.
you know,
But I
because
mean,
we barely brainstorm live or on camera. So um,
no, I could just hear the chewing.
yeah.
It's like you gotta be fucking. It's like how in Peter Pan with like the crocodile and in Captain Hook. Yeah, I
Oh
hear
yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I get the chills.
Mm. Is it the fact that you could actually hear it? Because I mean, I don't. Because I mean, we've shared a few meals here and there, so it's not as though like
Well, but
this
the thing is,
the.
Andy, like, yes, yeah, obviously like I don't have a problem with like eating with people, but
Mhm,
when you have a microphone like 2 inches away from like you chewing, it's
mhm.
kind of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
but the other
Yeah. That's
the other
that's like that. That's the clarification that I needed.
I think here's the other thing too. I have a feeling like when it comes to like the chewing aspect of it too, like not only is it like there's a microphone there, I
Mhm.
feel like they're like going out of their way to chew louder.
Oh, right. Yeah. Maybe I wouldn't put it past them.
So because honestly, like even like when I might be like chewing on something,
Mhm.
um, or like eating something, like and you know how like you kind of like cover your ears or like maybe you have like something over your ears and you can kind of like
Yeah. You say it
hear it
sounds
like
louder. Yeah.
it sounds a little bit louder, but like that's just chewing normal. But I have a feeling that those guys all just like they're for extra sound because I guess apparently some people like the sound of that.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like some like audio sensory like
Yeah. Yeah.
thing
Yeah. Mhm.
that
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
like the sound of.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am the opposite of
It's
that. I think
yeah. It's kind
it's
of like ASMR.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, that's my rant. Like oh mukbangs,
What was it?
all the mukbangs.
Oh yeah. 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 All right. Well, yeah. We got some things to talk about. So let's just wait for this ambulance to pass, and it's passed. So let's get into it. Yeah. So the elections were last week, and it's we still don't know who the president is, despite.
Oh, but Andy, but CNN and MSNBC and all these news outlets are saying that President Biden is president elect.
Yeah, I mean they say that, but no one from the election commission has come out. No one from, no one with any like rightful authority to call an election has come out and said that yes, Biden is the winner. Because all it's been is the news media, and if you've paid attention, they put projected winner in it. They even they're hedging their bets. They're because it's kind of like they're trying to avoid the karmic justice of straight out lying to people. So they add like that little tiny truth like projected winner. And it's like, oh, we didn't say that he was like the winner. He's like, we're just saying that he's projected to win. So it's just it's kind of like trying to it's dodging that karmic bullet because because I don't know, like these people, they're even though they're not religious, they still believe in like some sort of comeuppance. They're afraid of the comeuppance, and so whether it's legal or spiritual or whatever, they have to protect. They always have to protect themselves, and always have to give themselves a way out. They have to give them an escape hatch, and that's why if you notice all the new, even Fox News, that was the most disappointing of all. Fox News. But
I've been saying it forever. Fox News is just as lefty as the rest of them.
Right, and I mean it's not as though like I fully trusted Fox News. It's really mostly because of like Tucker Carlson or even Greg Gutfeld, who like I find hilarious.
Yeah, he is gonna.
I love his monologues, but yeah, like they all put projected winner. They didn't say Joe Biden is the winner. It's projected to win like those states.
Yeah. And it's God, I mean, it just I just wish that our news media would be and we call it the mainstream media, but like it's really what a lot of people are more correctly calling it the legacy media, which is pretty much this dying vestige of something that was thought to have been like objective and kind of just fact finding and all that stuff like that. That hasn't been true in decades, and even like back in the day, like it even before the 24-hour news cycle, which isn't really a thing because nothing's going on all the time. But even that, like the guys that are thought to have like with the Edward Murrows and the Walter Cronkites, like they were just as big a hacks as like maybe not quite as bad as your pundits like on TV today, but it's still like kind of the same problem. And I mean the newspapers have become like worse and worse. It's a travesty, and I hope that I think that's also why like a lot of the like the Twitterati and the Googlers and all those people are fighting so damn hard to suppress like what they know is a wave of people who are actually like are tired of what legacy media has to offer, and just trying to put out like actual guys that have that do actual journalism. Sure, they might have a bias, but at least they're going out and doing the work of investigating things and looking into stuff. It's like, hey, this is this political figure, or this is going on, and the narrative is saying this, but that's not the truth. This is the truth. These are the facts at hand. Do with it what you will.
Right, and I mean, like, recently, I think it might have been MSNBC or CNN, either one. But they had a black Princeton professor on, and he basically said, if you question the results of the election, then you're a racist.
Yeah.
Like a black man defending a white man who, if not expressly said quasi-racist things in the past.
Yeah, I mean, do I think Biden's a racist? No, but he says a lot of dumb shit.
Right, I know. It's just like, yeah, I'm not saying that he's in. full on racist, but he said like some like some really insensitive things.
But what had he, because he's a Democrat, it's like, whatever. But like, if he had an R in front of his name, like, oh, they would have buried him.
Yeah, they would have ripped him apart. I mean, and it's like not even like recent, like in like the recent stuff, they just like all like, oh, he's just an old man. He did like, or he was just like joking. He didn't mean it. It's like, well, was he joking? Well, he was an old man when he said it, and I mean, I don't see where the joke is in it when he said that he doesn't want his kids going to schools with black kids, like, and have it a racial jungle.
What a great joke.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't see where the joke is in that.
Oh, man, I'm slapping my knees right now. I can't. My sides are splitting.
Right? Or like or wet or like. I mean, he was kind of older when he said this, but again, I don't see where the joke is. Where he called certain black men super predators.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see the joke. I don't see the humor in that.
But yeah, it's just when I listen to like what these guys, I mean, no one is covering. Like, the reality is, no one in legacy media is really talking about like what's actually happening, and like it's like I said, the election. Like we said, I said this to you before the stream started. It's like, listen, it still could come out that Biden ends up becoming the president. Okay, that's great. But
right.
the problem is that there are a lot of incidents that are very suspicious looking, that require investigation. And at the very least, to protect the integrity of our election system, so that we the people can actually believe that, like, when we put in our ballot, that it's going to get counted the way that we voted, not based off of some ballot stuffers and fraudulent horse shit that's going on.
Right. I mean, it's again, it kind of boils down to empathy and how the left or sympathy, and the left just doesn't have that. It's just like, because all you have to do is switch it around and go to a Democrat and say, hey, if the Republicans were keeping Democrat poll watchers out of the room, or if Republican poll volunteers were taking like cardboard and covering windows to ballot counting areas, and the Republicans kept Republican poll workers kept Democratic poll workers like half of a football field length away from the counting area when the Democratic observers were supposed to keep an eye on the count. Or if a certain polling center said is like, hey guys, it's late, we'll pick this up tomorrow morning, and all the Democratic workers trustingly went home, and then came back in the morning, and then at 4 o'clock in the morning, when anyone was supposed to be there, all of a sudden there were like, I forget, about like 100,000, 130,000 votes for all Trump in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you at the very least not be suspicious of that?
Exactly.
I mean, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. It's like to ask that simple question. It's like, what if it was you guys? What if the shoe was on the other foot?
No, but but now it's all people's like, just get over it. Election's over. It's done. Like, just give up. Like, why don't you just give up? Why is Trump just like not accepting like the results? It's like, yeah, he's been saying it for over a year, almost all year. It's like, listen, people have been saying like, oh, he's not going to leave office. It's like, if he feels that the election is on the up and up, and he still loses, the guy's going to step away. He's not going to just stay, barricade himself into the Oval Office like Tony Montana and Scarface.
Right. Yeah, make his last stand or anything. Yeah, and like like, say hello to my little friend. It's not. There's not going to be it's not going to play out that way. Not even the least.
Yeah. It's and the thing is, the media, the legacy media, they they called their shot. They called exactly what they were going to do. It's like there's going to be this red mirage on election night. Everything's going to be looking like it's going towards Trump, and then
And
what's
slowly the
then we're
Biden
going to
votes
go
are
to
going to.
balance,
They
and
specifically said that the Biden votes were going to start coming in at that point, and then Biden's going to win. They told you to your face that they were going to cheat. That that's what they're allegedly.
yeah,
I'm gonna curb myself, even though I know that they cheated. But I'm gonna say allegedly. They told you to your face that that's what they were gonna do. Allegedly.
exactly.
And Trump was saying that they were gonna do it since March, since like when the
And you
first lockdown
you laughed
happened,
at him.
and you laughed at it, like, no, impossible. Like, there's no way, and the same people that are saying like, oh, no one could, no one rigged this, like, no one could have rigged an election. Those are the same people who are crying that Russia interfered with the 2016 election.
And you know what though? Like Democrats have been just stuffing ballot boxes for decades. I mean, you look at the time like FDR,
Mm-hmm.
The Kennedy campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You have, Lyndon Johnson, even in like elections, like when he was like in high school and shit, like he was stuffing ballot boxes then because he's a cheater. I mean, because they know that a lot of their policies suck ass, and no one wants.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think civil rights is fine. Civil rights is great.
He didn't come up with it. Like that wasn't his thing.
Yeah, it wasn't his thing. But I mean, even still, like civil. Yeah, I mean, so yes. There's some things that I've begun to question about civil rights, but that's beside the point. I think overall it's a good thing. Guaranteeing the rights of all people,
Yeah.
even because especially since at that time America has became more ethnically diverse, to say let's say that. But I mean, everything on the left, yeah, all the policy on the left suck. I mean, California, the most blue, maybe the most blue state in the union, voted down Prop 16 and Prop 17 or 18, whichever the one was for having 17-year-olds allowed to vote in primaries.
Thank God.
Yeah, but 16 was the big one. That was the dismantling of civil rights.
Yeah, that was like
that was the one that's like, yeah, the government has the right to discriminate you based on your skin color, basically.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, and of course, like, they didn't say it straight to your face that that's what that was. They couched it in terms of was it affirmative action? Even for affirmative action is bullshit.
Yeah.
Because it's saying because of your skin color, we're gonna give you a leg up on everybody else.
Passed, I think that would have sealed the deal for me leaving the state.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd probably have to seriously consider it then too, because let's be real here. That proposition is specifically targeted towards whites and white adjacents, Asians.
Yep.
Let's just be real. I mean, freaking like Google had that memo saying that they weren't gonna hire white males or Asians.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, this specific proposition was also more strictly framed within the government.
Yeah.
But
the fact that like they are explicitly saying like, oh yeah, we're not going to hire these people. It's like I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the law. Like, I mean, I kind of feel that like a company should be able to do what it wants and suffer the consequences for it, whether they're good or bad consequences. But the fact is, as of right now, that is against the law of the land. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're not getting lawsuits up the ass. Mm-hmm. Maybe they are, but like at least nothing that I've seen that's been reported on.
Yeah, no, I mean, Like if you did not look into the propositions and you're just gonna vote yes, like by default, then you're stupid and you should not be allowed to vote. Like if you don't do like the bare minimum of looking up each ballot initiative and kind of getting at least like reading it for yourself, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Yeah.
Because like I mean I didn't start because because I was a dumb kid. I was a dumb kid and I was voting and by default sometimes I just voted yes down the ballot initiatives by default instead of no.
Yeah.
Thank God by the time by the time I was 30 I wised up. It's like, hey, this doesn't sound right. And so by default I say no now, particularly because a lot of the ballot initiatives are about spending money.
Which
And
is
the
spending
government,
money.
yeah, which is spending all of our money, all anyone who pays taxes money. And so it's like why do you want to spend this money? Like there was like there was the ballot initiative that passed. I think it was like RR that was supposedly for the schools and like updating something or like Corona stuff, but the wording was so open ended. I mean, I think it's still passed, but it's just like basically giving the schools money for improvements or whatever for Corona, like putting up plastic shields or whatever bullshit. But again, the wording was so open ended where it's like it could have just been like for anything. Like the money could be like appropriated for anything.
And it will be. I mean, I mean
Yeah. Let's
that
just be real.
those
Yeah, let's
type
just be
of rules
honest.
are just like just what you should do is take the $100 bill out of your wallet, set it on fire, and that's about as well, you know, that's about as smart as like saying yes to a lot of these propositions.
Yeah, and I mean, and I get it because like it happened to me too, where I got fooled because like there was like I think in 16 there was that at least for California there was that ballot initiative about a gas tax, and
Yeah,
they pulled some like fuckery with it. So like if you're voting no, you're actually voting in favor for it.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
that
you
and
have
I
to be
think that's
careful.
why and that's why it passed because everyone like said like oh no I don't want this and say they voted no, but in actuality they were actually voting for it.
Yeah, it just crazy stuff. And but going back to just even I mean, well, and even like some of the stuff that was on our California ballot, like some of the stuff that like the college school board stuff, like I had no idea, so I didn't vote on those races because like listen, I'm not gonna, I don't know jack shit about any of those,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't want to affect that race if I don't know anything. Um, but it's voting for stuff that I know about. Obviously, like the for the president. Trying to elect a different Congress people. Like so, we might actually have some different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But no, everyone voted for the same fucking people that they
Right. Yeah.
do every year.
I think every Republican challenger was defeated by the Democratic incumbent.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just like guys, you keep bitching about how California, oh, it's not the same, and it's not this or it's not that. It's like, you know why? You know why nothing changes or why it keeps getting worse is because you keep voting in the same fucking idiots that have been doing the same dumb stuff, enacting the same dumb policies, wasting your time and money, and yet you keep giving them a free ride. Like, yeah, let's get 2 or 4 more years of this. It seems awesome.
all right. Yeah. I think the last Republican mayor of LA was Richard Riordan.
Yeah, and he was a good one too.
Yeah, he was a good one. Like crime was down. I mean, yes, the riots happened under him, but
That wasn't. I don't think that's his fault though.
yeah. Like, I don't none of like his policies. I don't think none of his policies was like necessarily to blame for like the riots. But but on the whole, I would say Richard Riordan was a good mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Also,
he was very community minded. Like
and he
because
didn't
my
take a salary either. He did it like because he was already a wealthy man by the time when he was the Los Angeles mayor. He didn't take a salary.
kind of sounds familiar.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what we should ask of our executives. Like they have that they have their own money. That way we can ensure like some sort of uh, like block from being paid off or whatever.
I don't know like when it started, but
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of presidents who like or people who became president and like ran the country who really like be almost became destitute afterwards. Like they were just really like poor. Like George Washington lost a crap ton of money and like actually ended up. I think I forget. Like he lost a lot of money helping
Mm-hmm.
to run the country. A lot of a lot of the early presidents were like that. I think even up until like Harry Truman, who the guy had like no money at all.
Right, and but he started another tradition of you know the author presidents, where he like starts writing about his memoirs basically,
Well,
and
Grant was yeah. Well, Grant was another one that did. Ulysses Grant did that too,
mm,
because he was fucking broke after becoming president. He
mm,
had a lot of after his time as president. I think he had a lot of failed business ventures and like had no money. And he
mm,
so to kind of like help care for his family because he was on his deathbed, he wrote his biography,
mm,
which ended up he was able to sell and like made his family money, but yeah, but a lot of these guys like didn't become rich in office, but look at like a lot of these sent like the Clintons. Maybe it was the Clintons that started this tradition, but where they became so fucking rich, like where they're getting like $250,000 a year, which is no chump change. Like that's what's allotted for the office. Fine, okay, but then they're what maybe worth they've been serving the public for 50 40 50 years, and then after they leave the office their net worth is like $100 million, or some of them are getting on close to like half a million, half a
Well, I
billion
think
dollars.
the reason for that is that they were the ones who started the whole foundation scam, or like at
Oh
least
yeah,
they were the one to popularize it, like because they started the Clinton Foundation. And it's like, oh yeah, help us. We're trying to do all these humanitarian we're trying to initiatives or whatnot, and it's like so
which was
like it's like
all horseshit. Like there was nothing going on. It was a way for people who wanted to gain the influence of the Clintons. It's like, all right, you pay this amount to the foundation, we'll start talking.
right, yeah, and it's like yeah, especially like when she was like still in politics too. That's fucking shady as shit.
Oh,
It's
it's
like
it was a money laundering scheme.
yeah, it's a money laundering scheme. That's all it was. And it's just like, how is like a sitting United States senator allowed to, have this, basically money laundering machine, uh, concurrently, and and still, I think she was like still like on the board, when she was a senator, and
Yeah.
Secretary of State. Um, but it's like how is that not a conflict of interest? Where it's like, oh, you're the Secretary of State, so it's like, oh yeah, please come talk. Please come. Yeah, here's a gift for your husband, $1 million.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, and then like, please come and speak for 5 minutes at my birthday or whatever.
It's ridiculous. But anyways, like back to like the election itself. The fact that you had states, what they call the swing states or battleground states that were trending towards Donald Trump, that were where he had fairly significant leads in some of those races, and then they stopped counting for a little bit. Oh, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back in the morning, and then
Or what?
not
Yeah,
an hour later.
what about in Georgia, like the supposed pipe burst? Where are the photos? Where's the
Yeah.
video from? Where are the videos from the volunteers, like, oh, it's like saying, oh my, on like their Instagram or whatever, it's like, oh my, on their stories, it's like, oh my God, it's like, look at this flood, this is crazy, I can't believe this is happening. Where are the
Exactly.
videos? Where are the videos?
Yeah. But then it's like where they say, oh yeah, we'll be back in the morning to finish counting the votes, and then not 2 hours later, they're like, oh well, we're starting counting again. Oh man, we found all these ballots out of nowhere, and they're all. It's just that Biden's starting to have a resurgence, and like by the time we all woke up, it's like, how the hell did Biden get the lead in all these states?
Right,
And
and just like the sheer statistical improbability that 130,000 votes, all Biden.
yeah,
The statistical improbability. Kevin Sorbo, I think, had the greatest take. Um, those of you too young to know,
love
Kevin
Kevin
Sorbo is an
Sorbo.
actor whose claim to fame was playing Hercules on TV.
Fuck
Uh,
yeah, dude, that
yeah,
show was awesome.
I fucking love that show.
Me
Um,
too.
yeah. um, but he said, oh, I flipped a coin 130,000 times and got heads every single time. Just trust. I don't have any proof, but just trust me on it. It happened.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it's nearly it. Is it possible? Sure. Is it probable? Hell no.
Hell the fuck no. Because again,
Uh,
flip a coin 100 times and get heads, and try and make it come out as heads 100% of the time. 100 times. It's
yeah,
it's impossible. You can't
it's
do
not
that.
gonna happen.
Right. But it's like
The
also, with if you're on the left, you should be concerned too, because all of this is throwing crazy amounts of doubt in the election process. And I mean, like, how are we as a nation gonna go forward, and the next election that comes up, how are we not gonna be like, fuck this? When are we like, how are we not gonna be like checked out and be like, fuck this, it's all rigged, there's no point in it. And
you know what?
at a certain point, like the national stuff, yeah, but the local stuff, you know still very important.
Exactly. Well, see, it's funny because 20 years ago when this problem came up, but it was just one state, Florida,
Hmm.
and everyone was like, "Oh, Florida's such a shit show." Look at them this time around, like
Hmm.
with the last few elections, like they haven't been a joke. Like they actually they figured out like how to a very like streamlined process, for voting, and it's like, hey, we got all the votes counted, we're good to go. It's all done. What's
Right, yeah, and it's all, yeah, and all the Republican run like states or cities or municipalities, all of them got their shit in, and reported the same day.
imagine that it's like they the ballots that they had that were postmarked by the date that they were supposed to be turned in at, plus the ballots that were conducted on election day or were turned in on election day at the polling places. They got them counted. They didn't like find a whole mysterious van full at 4 in the morning that was wheeled in under cover of darkness or other shenanigans.
Hmm.
And it just happened that they were all in like these all these battleground states where they're all within like the margin of error, and it's where 20,000 votes or 100,000 votes or in some cases 10,000 votes would have made a
Hmm.
huge difference in the race. And they just
Yeah.
happened, and there just happened to be all these votes that came in, and they just all happened to be for Joe Biden. For the like 99% of them were for like Joe Biden.
Right. And
And
again,
and
going
yeah,
to
and they're finding too that like some of them it's like where the only thing that was voted on
yeah,
was
was for the
the
president.
paper.
Yeah, was for the president. That's it. Like everything else, like whatever, like ballot initiatives or local, local elections, like it wasn't filled out. It was only for the president. Yeah, and it happened. And they happened to vote for Joe Biden.
So like I said, does that mean that 100% that cheating was going on? Maybe not, but at the very least, it should be looked at and investigated and figure out like what the hell is going on because it feels very very suspicious.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because all of these things that just went Joe Biden's way just happened to happen. And it's like I don't like. Yeah,
Or
I could accept the I could
lunchbox
accept
Joe.
I could accept the outcome if it was Joe Biden. There was like no like lingering questions of whether or not there was like fraud or whatever. I literally could. I literally could. But there's too much in the air around this.
Yeah,
There's too many like coincidences and too many points where too many points where fraud could be conducted.
yeah. I
And
mean,
it's
he
just like
didn't just like it's just like where people are just like, oh, he just kind of Dick Van Dyke his way up into the presidency. Good old lunchbox Joe. Whoops, hey.
yeah, Joe, watch out for that ottoman. Oh,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I mean, whichever side you're on, we should be worried because no matter how bad like the politics gets in our country, we can always we always voted and it's like, oh, we lost, better luck next time, and we shook hands and then we went about our business. Like
yeah.
now we don't even have that. And we used to make fun of countries like Venezuela or Russia or some third world but banana republics, like, oh, look how corrupt their elections are. But now, like, what are people saying about our elections?
Oh, it's yeah. We're a joke right now. We're
Yeah,
supposed to be the
exactly.
country that like stands above like all that. Even though like yeah, we bicker furiously on so many things, but at the end of the day, it's not some like we don't have like riots in the street over elections. It's like we always have like the peaceful transfer of power.
Hmm.
Um, whether or not we like the candidate, and that is not the case right now at all.
No, I mean, and arguably it wasn't like, and it wasn't that in 2016 either.
Yeah,
Arguably,
yeah. I mean, there was people screaming and crying with their
yeah,
hands on their dollies and in their beds at night, but there wasn't
yeah,
like
crying themselves to sleep. But I mean, now we are the banana republic, and now we're the ones like the world is laughing at. And like if you thought that voter participation was low before, after this, I can't imagine any Republican or conservative-minded American uh, voting in an election ever again.
yeah. Like, all I want is for if there is some sort of ickiness, like if there is shenanigans involved, okay, we're not going to count those votes. And
Right.
if the result, and if after all the fraudulent and all the votes that are like that are not worthy to be counted are thrown out, and Joe Biden still wins at the end of the day. Okay, cool. We make sure that we got everything like everything's on the up and up, and Joe Biden still won. Awesome. Okay, great. Now it's like that's the president. Awesome. I mean, I don't like him, but at the same time, like I don't him.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for his failure. I might root for his
Right.
policies to fail, but I'm not going to root for him to fail.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. It's just again, like I've been saying about my support of Trump. I'm rooting on my bus driver,
yeah,
and if Joe Biden is my becomes the bus driver, I'm gonna want him to do a good job too.
yeah. I want to keep that bus on the bridge.
Yeah, I want that bus to be stay on the road and not rolled over in some ditch.
I don't want it to
You know.
become the bus
Yeah,
that couldn't
and I
slow
mean, I
down.
hope and I hope that it doesn't go to the Supreme Court. That this doesn't go to the Supreme Court, because then like they're gonna cry that Trump stole the election. When it eventually does go to him, but if it goes to the Supreme Court, it'll be just another way for them to say, oh, to cry foul, and be like, oh, see, he shoved in Barrett at the last minute so he can steal the presidency. I hope it doesn't get. I hope it doesn't go to
Yeah.
the Supreme Court.
In reality,
I
though,
hope that they're able to resolve it at the state level, where they just do like a simple audit or a simple recount or a simple investigation at the state level that that doesn't involve the Supreme Court, and that it can be resolved there. I really hope that that's what I would ideally like to have happen. I'm just a little bit more realistic, uh, and I
yeah,
do think that it will go to the Supreme Court. But
yeah, and
ideally,
fun.
for the sake of Trump's presidency, to have even just a little bit of legitimacy, more than he did the previous term when everyone's was constantly trying to delegitimize him. I hope this is able to be resolved at at the state or the local level.
But yeah, but it's I'm really hoping that's the case too. It is. I never thought it would ever get to this type of level in our country. I mean, I'm flabbergasted
Yeah, I
by.
mean neither did I. I mean,
um,
I never thought that we'd slip into banana republic status in my lifetime.
yeah, I never thought I'd see the day.
But I mean, just the calls from people on the left and Democrats, like, oh, we need to come together, we need to unite, we need peace, and it just all rings hollow. And I just want to tell them to go get wrecked.
Yeah.
But
Oh
especially
yeah, yeah. You get all the people that were screaming and crying and whining and bitching for 4 years about Donald Trump, and it's like now that he potentially is no longer going to be president. Now it's like no, we need to heal. We need to just come together as a country. It's like fuck you.
yeah, it's like because they only want peace and they only want unity under their terms.
I mean,
It's like
it's just
they
like
don't want
it's,
if they really wanted to, then they would have tried and worked. They with worked with conservatives. They would have tried to see the perspective of the opposing side, but they didn't. All they did was call us names, and denigrate us, and cast Trump, cast the president in a bad light.
yeah.
I mean, we literally had a supermodel first lady, and she was not on one fashion magazine for 4 years.
But we couldn't see I mean, I think the only person that was on magazines more than Michelle Obama was in those entire 4 years was Oprah, and that was because Oprah had her own magazine where she's the cover person every fucking month.
Yeah, like oh yeah, O magazine. Yeah, she's the cover model every single issue. But yeah, so it's like, so tell me, like, where were you trying to work with Trump? Tell me where you were trying to get the understand the perspective of the Republican or conservative neighbor. Tell me where. Tell me where. Tell me when. Because like I mean, even though I try not to get involved, my one interaction with a left leaning former classmate of mine, and she immediately, like, because I disagreed with what her position was, like, it was about masks, and because, like, I offered a different position, she immediately cast me as like some right wing nationalist retard, and wouldn't even like wouldn't
All
even
right.
and wouldn't even consider my position, because all I did was post an article which had a lot of links. Like, they had like a lot of links that you could go and check, like is very well cited, right? And then
Right.
she countered, like, I don't even think she even read the whole thing, or she even did, like, she might have read it, but she didn't like investigate any further. But then she counters with another, article or whatever with citations saying like masks are good and they stop diseases or whatever. And I looked into it, and like her and like those citations were shit.
Yeah.
Like I
Even
think
like
like four of the links didn't work, or they didn't lead it, or like the article was no longer available. One was from like an NGO that was, pretty complimentary to China,
yeah.
and the other one was to a study about more layers being better than a single layer, which was kind of which I posted it with a joke saying, if you could still smell a fart between. You can still smell a fart through two layers of fabric. What good is one against a microscopic virus? And and
Exactly.
and the article that was cited in the article the study that was cited in the article that she sent me, what it was basically what is it corroborating my joke, because the study was about more layers and like using different materials to
Right.
filter out more of the particles or whatever would be better. It's like that you just this article just like proved my point. And I was very nice about it, because she I because she like she basically just basically called me a stupid head, and said like, oh, it's a shame because you seem like you're a good you were one of the good ones back in school. I was like,
Okay.
okay, and then I just let her. I let her have it in a way that a conservative person does it instead. And I was very eloquent. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry too. I'm sorry you think because you think that because I interpret data differently. You think I'm evil because you could assume my politics. You think I'm not worthy to debate with. It's just like. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? I am putting up a different point of view. All you have to do is say, "Hey, I don't agree. Here's why. Let's talk about it," and that's it. I kind of had this. I kind of had this not as high stakes, but a similar interaction with your wife this weekend, and I utterly demolished her in debate in my debate.
Well, yeah, it's funny because oh yeah, but I when she was hanging out with you a couple weeks ago,
Hmm.
while I was at work, because she is not necessarily a fan of our president, and I think she had expressed that opinion to you, and you're like, and
Oh yeah.
a lot of it came from like a lot of what she perceived as like the problems with like COVID and all the coronavirus stuff, and you're like, okay, well, we in this country we have a thing called it's like I think you told her talking about like the 10th Amendment,
Hmm.
and how
That's right.
the president actually doesn't really have the power to just to make things happen. Like a lot of power comes through like how the states decide to handle things like this, and that's how president unlike other presidents before him, Trump operated within the confines of his powers admitted by the Constitution. And she like, and the way that you said it, she's like, oh, so that means that the governors of and the leaders of the states are the ones in control of that stuff. Bingo,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's just like, yeah, she, like it was really like eye opening moment for her. Or at least like
Yeah,
that's the like she's like, oh, she's like things were like starting to click for her.
and like when I started to kind of tell her like, okay, that so you don't like Trump, and it's like, all right, like yeah, he does say a lot of crazy shit, and he's kind of a boorish kind of character. Okay, I'll grant that. That's fine.
Hmm.
But
Completely fair.
yeah, you know, you being a Christian, you look at like the other guy. The other guys want abortion on demand, tax, paid
Taxpayer
by
funded.
paid by you and me, to fund abortions up to the point of birth, and sometimes to the point afterwards. Um, that alone, as a Christian,
Right.
I
Yeah.
think
Should
right, we're
disqualify Joe Biden as a choice for you as a Christian.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that like is he's supposedly a man of faith, but has been refused to be given like they refuse to give him communion because of his stance on that stuff.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, okay, yeah, Trump is like, yeah, he's slept around a lot. He's cheated on his wives. He's done all of this stuff. But hey, you know what? He stands up for for young life that that is. And did he always think that way? No, but he even said like, yeah, I was this way before. I grew up. Obviously, I spent a lot of my time in New York. I was kind of a progressive guy, and then what changed? It wasn't. It was his youngest son. That where it's like where he had a realization that like killing babies in the womb is wrong, and he changed his mind. He came
Mhm.
to a realization. It's like for me, like that's huge. Like, and he's been the most pro-life president that we have ever had.
Right. And it's very interesting because they always like people on the left they always revert to emotional arguments or like oh my lived experience you didn't go through what I did, but it's like but when someone uses their lived experience to then go against what the left you know or at least the latest leftist orthodoxy is just like no you can't do that.
Exactly.
It's like my lived experience. Like, well, my lived experience says like this. This thing in my woman's belly is a person, is a human being. So I'm not gonna kill it. Like, no, you can't. It's like
Yeah.
it's her body, her choice.
I mean, the fact that like I think it was the guy that like he had kind of the hidden camera footage of Planned Parenthood executives, talking about how they auction off body parts and they actually want like to wait until further along in the pregnancy because they can actually get more money off of the parts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who like isn't being that's being thrown in jail? You would think it'd be those people, but no, it's the guy that like blew the lid off of that thing.
Oh yeah, the whistleblower. Yeah,
He's still fighting for his to stay out of jail right now.
yeah, I know. It's
That's insane.
wait, that was the other measure. I think it passed too. Goddamn. But the stem cell research proposition. Just like, where do you think those stem cells come from?
Exactly. They are a lot of the people that are behind that are saying like, oh, but it's not from like dead baby parts. Like, we're taking it from the umbilical cord after it's like
After the abortion.
sure, yeah, sure it is.
Yeah, but it's like yeah, it's like oh, so these people, these women who recently gave birth to live babies decided, oh yeah, no, I don't want, let's just donate the umbilical cord.
Well, it's I don't know if you've seen this South Park episode, but there was one with where they're making fun of Christopher Reeve, and
Mm-hmm.
him is like he would get these buckets of like aborted babies and he like crack open the spine and like suck out the juice or what.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, and that was like helping him to like come back to like yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's like, and the thing is like I don't know if Trey Parker and Matt Stone or like how if they were just kind of like making fun of like that side of people who like are wanting like that believe in the stem cell research and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
the fact that like they even like went that direction is like it's kind of maybe they are who knows like that they're like hey, you know what, maybe using these stem cells out of these young fetuses, like maybe that's not a good thing because it turned him crazy.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember when, but yeah, stem cells became kind of like what is it like the philosopher's stone of like science, where it's like oh we could turn like we could transmute lead into gold. It became that where it's like oh Yeah, stem cells, they could be used to replace cells in your spine, or or help reignite the neurons in your
Well,
brain,
and I
or
think from what I've read and understood about that, like it's and trust me, I'm no expert on this at all. The idea behind it is that if you infuse with like these young cells, I mean, like literally like
right, yeah,
brand new
they're like the
cells,
building block cells, where it's like if you're
and,
missing
but
you're
kind of like
missing a few of these cells, then those stem cells will become that cell that's
exactly, and it
deficient.
helps to rebuild stuff that's broken in your body
Hmm.
potentially. Um, and I think like in some cases there's been some limited success
Right.
where like so they've continued to research it. Um, and there's always like that trope of like the especially in The Simpsons where like uh, Mr. Burns is always like trying to get like blood from like young kids and stuff like
Yeah,
where
adrenochrome.
there's
Yeah, that's
like
adrenochrome.
there's that episode called Blood Feud where he gets he's where he's
Yeah, I guess
dying.
that blood transfusion from Bart.
Yeah, and he like it becomes like a young boy again almost.
Right.
And to me, like the idea, like the stem cells, it's kind of like this very ghoulish thing.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, particularly from where, like, what the source is. Like, how can it not be if you're getting it from, you know, dead baby parts? And you could, yeah, and again, you could make the argument that, oh no, it's like all the stillborn babies, or people who just donate the umbilical cord. Like, okay, yeah, but like at the amount that they would need, that wouldn't be enough. It's not like
Exactly.
not because medical technology has gotten to the point where stillbirths or miscarriages have and like infant mortality has like fallen through the floor. That's how much advancement we have come in terms of medical science and keeping babies alive, and making sure that mothers stay healthy throughout the entire pregnancy. That's how much, like, the mortality rate of infants has cratered, right?
Do
And
you?
there's no way,
Yeah.
and there's no way that people with that have stillborn births or miscarriages, or or people who just donate the umbilical cord after they've given birth to their babies. That's not enough uh, to supply researchers stem cells. It's just not. Let's
Right.
just be
Right.
real.
Something also not just a thought. Like I'm not saying that this is actually happening, but because the people that are conducting a lot of the stem cell research, obviously they need a lot of, let's say, product, right?
Hmm.
So obviously that means like a lot of you know a lot of babies, a lot of obviously like quote unquote stillborns or whatever. So uh, our government funds Planned Parenthood for what, like $500 million a year,
Roughly,
if not
yes.
more. And plus, and like along with all the other donations that people give to that horrible organization.
Hmm.
But obviously, like to me, I wonder if it's like some sort of like kind of a little bit of a scheme where the government obviously like can't get away with like kind of directly funding these guys doing like the stem cell research, so they fund an organization that provides the product that they end up either donating to these facilities that are doing stem cell research or whatever else. And it's kind of it's in a way some sort of like not scheme, but it's kind of like passing one from one hand to the other, but it's so the money is going to somebody else, and then like that the person that's getting the money is providing something to this other entity. It's that's kind of like what my potential thought is that could be happening,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
I mean you can't like I said, even if it was just stillborns and umbilical cord donations, like how many people are actually really doing that? Like probably not a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely my point.
Anyways,
But yeah, I know we kind of yeah. So wide ranging we went. But the elections, yeah. I mean,
it's not over yet.
even if you're on the, let's just say, winning side of this attempt, like you're a Biden voter and you're over the moon. Um, you should still be made wary about this result because you know who's to say that it won't be you next time? Maybe who's to say that it won't be your vote that'll be made invalidated by a fraudulent vote or an illegal vote. Um, and who's to say that it'll be caught then?
Exactly.
So I mean, as happy as you are about the result, I mean, you're welcome to have being feeling however you want to feel about it. Okay, I'm not trying to say that you're an idiot for voting for Biden, or I'm not saying any of that. Or I'm not saying that Biden shouldn't be president, even though I don't think he should be, but I'm not saying that right now. I'm just saying that you should hold the election integrity, as the most important thing. All right, because next time it might be your vote that gets invalidated. It might be your vote that gets mysteriously dumped in a trash receptacle. It might be your vote that is supplanted by a fraudulent vote.
Exactly.
And you should care about the integrity of our elections.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
All right, I think well, at least I have said everything I wanted to say
I
about
said
that.
my
So
piece too, Andy.
yeah, so we've achieved catharsis.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's move on to the review for the latest docu-series um, on the schedule, and that is The Toys That Made Us. Again, for those, if you're not familiar, it's a docu-series. It came out in 2017, I believe.
I think so. That's when, like, because now that yeah, it ran like there was they did one in 2017, 2018, 2019 because there was a new season that just came out. They're all like 4 episodes a piece each
Mm-hmm.
season. But we selectively chose certain episodes that we wanted to talk about out of this docu series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 2017. Yeah, and it's a Netflix original production.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and again, it just goes and not chronicles, but delves into the story behind some of our favorite toy brands. Either like the brands like Mattel or you know uh, Parker Brothers or Playtime, or maybe even just like the brands themselves that they represent, like Barbie or Ninja Turtles or He-Man. Um, this first episode that we'll be reviewing is, well, it happened just so happens to be the first episode of the first season, and that is Star Wars.
yeah. Um, so what's kind of cool about this, it tells the story of how when Star Wars was first coming out, like there was, no one really knew what it was going to become. I mean, it was obviously like George Lucas worked very hard in like trying to get this film like put together. We have talked exhaustively about Star Wars, and we probably still will. Just wait for next month. It's like, um, but and when the idea of a potential toy line development like came out, for the movie, they were searching around, and it was this nobody wanted to do it because they're like, what the hell is Star Wars? What the hell is this? And so they reached out to this small toy company in Cincinnati that was known for like the easy bake ovens and spirograph of all things, and like, why don't you do it? And that's kind of like how the story of the Star Wars toy saga really started. It was just this, and that's kind of the story of the episode, is like how not only how they got the deal, but like it talks about like how, like, the negotiations and the contracts behind it, how the toys even got produced, and some of like the how over time, like, what's happened. They talked to a lot of the different like toy developers that like worked on different projects um, for this company. The company was called Kenner at the initially. They no longer exist, I believe. They were sold to Hasbro back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's kind of like a basic overview. But Andy, what were some of the things about the episode that caught your eye?
What is it? I just thought it was fascinating that no one wanted to do this, or at least do the toys for Star Wars. Like none of the big names, Mattel or Parker Brothers or like Playtime, Galoob. I mean, if you're if you're an yeah, if you're an Xer or a millennial, you are very familiar with those names that I just rattled off right now. But yeah, no one wanted to do this, and it was like a junior executive at Kenner that got his hands on the script, and it's like, dude, we had to do this, and like he pitched it to his boss, and it's like, hey, this is we have to do this, and but I think what really got this, what really made it happen was that the boss, the president, I forget what his name was, but I think he's like known as the Bear. But like he had like a good, he had a sense for toys, and he's like, and he read the script. He's like, no, we're doing this. This is gonna happen. And I thought that was, I thought that was the most interesting, or not most interesting, but I just thought it was really interesting how like that was how uh, Star Wars, got its toy line,
Yeah,
and just also the kind of almost nonchalant way that they came up with like the size for the figures, where like the president of Kenner was just like, all right, it's gonna be, and he like stuck his finger out, and like the distance between his thumb and pointer finger, it's like, all right, that big, and it's like, and the one of the employees like took out a ruler. It's like 3 3/4. It's like that's the size of how big the figures are going to be, and just like, okay, because at the time the money makers, I believe, were like the 12-inch action figures or
that
dolls.
was G.I. Joe. Yeah,
Yeah, the GI Joes, the Barbies. That was kind of the industry standard, as it were.
right. Kenner
But
really
again,
changed.
yeah, Kenner really changed the game because if they did do a 12-inch Luke Skywalker action figures, like, which would be awesome, but then like they would have to come up with a scale version of the X-wing.
Right.
And so it's like so it's like the vehicles actually was the contributing factor to the size of the action figure, and it's like it was kind of great because it was like the idea is like, because no one's gonna pay for like this giant like X-wing toy, and like it's gonna be crazy expensive to produce,
now they will.
and then it was gonna be what was it?
Well, now they will. But
Well,
now,
now they
back
will.
then,
Well, now they back then it was a different time, but it's like no one's gonna pay for a 12-inch, Luke Skywalker action figure, but then also pay like an exorbitant amount of money for a scale toy of the X-wing. Um, and so like yeah, the genius of it was like, oh yeah, we'll just make the action figure small so we can make the vehicles to scale, or not to scale,
One
but
of the things
kind of.
I found, yeah, a couple of things I found extremely interesting were the when they were obviously they're starting to create like the kind of that first line of Star Wars toys,
Oh right,
and
where
you
they're
had
making they were like just like slapping like figures together like for their pitch.
right. Well, yeah, you and so they were when they were coming up with the Jawas, and they were trying to like kind of find like the something that was going to work for like the clothing for that figurine, and they had like nothing in their that
And
could
their fabric
work.
samples,
And the
yeah.
guy looked at his fucking socks, cut up his socks, and created the robe for the Jawa, and
Right, yeah, that's like that's the kind of like
that's the guy that
innovative,
loves his
like
fucking job.
you know
Let me tell you.
yeah, like kind of coming it coming just making shit up, improvising, just working with like the materials that you literally just have around you. In this case, in the on the foot of the designer himself, and he just like he yanked his sock off, cut off the toe and just like and wrap that Jawa figure, and it's like it works.
Yeah, that's a guy that loves his job. Let me tell you.
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly.
The
Or that one designer who was like who started off as a paid intern, but an intern nonetheless.
Yeah.
And then he was brought on, and he did every iteration of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, you're gonna be working on the Millennium Falcon. Awesome.
Yeah.
And the how they made that stuff back then, the amount of like I mean they're not fucking around. Like I mean they're the guy because this is stuff back then. There was no computers that they were using to
Right. They
draft.
just have they were just
These were
they didn't have
these were
Rhino or any
drafting
CAD
boards.
yeah. They didn't have any CAD software. It was all done like with pen and pencil and paper and rulers and what have you. So yeah, this was like legit like toy making or designing.
Yeah, and then even like when they were producing the prototypes, big people carving that shit out of wood.
Oh yeah, for the models and like for the eventual like molds and stuff like that. Yeah, like there was that one display of the Millennium Falcon that was made out of mahogany, which would then go on to be used as the form for like when they eventually like vacuum form like the parts where they could like easily and quickly replicate as many parts as they needed.
Exactly.
That shit was crazy. It was made of wood.
Yeah, and it's so that was pretty interesting. I got a huge kick out of the lawyer that was setting up the contract for Kenner too.
Oh right, yeah.
I
Dude,
mean that
like
guy like, was. I mean, the guy like had like kind of like he's very like monotone, but man, he had a sense of humor. Let me.
you're right.
Like,
Yeah, he goes. What is it? Because I have a little bit of experience with contracts because because I do a lot of freelancing stuff and I work a lot based on contract. Um, and a lot of times, the client will put into the contract in perpetuity, which basically means forever.
right, yeah.
They'll own it forever. But yeah, this lawyer, having it's funny. It's rare for a lawyer to have a sense of humor, but this one did, and he put into the contract um, the intergalactic rights for Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
Kenner will have the intergalactic rights uh, of Star Wars to produce like Star Wars toys, you know, um, intergalactically basically, and and the funny thing is he got it.
Yeah.
Like that was like that was like you would think the George Lucas or 20th Century Fox like yeah fucker whatever get that out of there. But they kept it in there.
They kept it in there. The original contract, that's what it was, and yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And the fact that like, because no one wanted to touch these like this toy line. Kenner was the only one that like finally like we got to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and they set themselves up with a fucking awesome deal
Oh
where
yeah.
they got 90 like
They got
8%
90.
like
They got
95%
95% of a dollar. They get 95 cents of every dollar. And but then
and
and they basically screwed 20th Century Fox and Lucas because
but
they
but
split
the
a five.
stipulation was they had to make, I think it was like they had to make like a certain amount like every year, or if they couldn't come up with that amount, they would have to write a check for like $10,000 to
Mm-hmm.
them. Which
Right.
honestly, like if you really think about it, is a sweet fucking deal.
Right, because it's like, oh, we didn't sell like as the quota that we specified. Oh, whatever, $10,000, and like, but the previous quarter or year, they made millions. They made like $5 million. So it's like, what's $10,000 as a penalty?
Exactly. And
Especially for back in those days, money.
right. So I mean, I thought that like learning a little bit about like those behind the scenes stuff I thought was very interesting. Um, they I think they're also like Kenner's also responsible too, because obviously there was time gaps in between the original trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
and they to kind of because of that contract they kept making toys, but what they would do is that they would kind of, I think they're also responsible for helping kind of create in a way side lore of Star Wars, because they
Oh,
created
right,
like
right.
they
They
were, they
created
were
vehicles. Yeah.
but they made different stuff, and George Lucas loved it. The fact is like, oh, this is a great idea. This is awesome.
Right, and
Where
they called it like off camera stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
they created like all these funky vehicles like for the Empire or for the Rebellion, and it's like and yeah, and actually kind of was like freed George Lucas up to really focus on Star Wars because that part of it now he doesn't really have to think about um, when the stormtroopers arrive, what are they riding, or if they're if they're doing on patrol, what kind of vehicle would they use? It's like, oh well, Kenner already came up with that for us, so all we have to do is use that.
exactly. And I thought it was like that's kind of cool. And you know that like a lot of the people that were a lot of the kids that had those toys, they're creating like these are the same people that are creating like the lore, or kind of surrounding Star Wars. That's not necessarily like the main story, but
Right.
ended up
Yeah, it's just
being
like
part
those
of the
people who get the license and write books, like the guy who did Shadows of the Empire or Thrawn. And now like Thrawn is in Star Wars canon because they use Thrawn in the Rebels cartoon.
exactly. So
So
it's all like sort of like little cool stuff like that was done. Um, the what else was like really? I mean, it also talks a little bit about the downfall of Kenner, and it obviously it surrounds Star Wars. Like it was when he there was that huge gap between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace,
right.
and they but like when they sold Kenner to Hasbro still had the same contract, but he fucked it up because he's an idiot, which everyone kind of like.
Oh
They
yeah,
didn't like
the
call him an idiot.
CEO, the CEO of Hasbro, yeah, he fucked things up
He
because it
didn't. They
was
didn't outright call him an idiot, but like, yeah, he's an idiot.
he's an idiot. But yeah, it's like yeah, because I think Hasbro. bought out Kenner, which which would give Hasbro the contract for Star Wars, but because they're this new company, they had to renegotiate, and
because they didn't live up to the stipulations of the original contract that they still had.
right,
All they had to do was cut a check for 10 grand,
mm-hmm.
and they didn't do it, and they would have
right,
had. And then the CEO of Hasbro was because it was the same lawyer. He kept the same lawyer, and he said he pretty much said like his the lawyer said like his anus like kind of like
yeah,
sucked into
it puckered, his butthole puckered.
because the guy said like, oh we had to have this deal at like no matter what. It's like, well there you go, you just throw all fucking leverage out the goddamn window,
right,
jackass.
yeah. Right, it's he was too the Hasbro CEO, he was too thirsty for it. He didn't play it cool. And yes, and he he showed his he tipped his hand. You know, I know I'm using all sorts of mixed metaphors, but he let it like he let the opposing side know that he wanted it bad. So Lucas and 20th Century Fox, they could act like frigid women and be like no, and just and offer terms based on like what's what would be better for them. I mean, good for them, but
Yeah.
it's just like to lose it like in the way that they did. Like you kind of feel bad for them, even though Kenner for like 30 plus years had like the best deal ever.
Oh yeah, like you'll never get like a deal like that ever again.
Yeah, there'll never be a deal like that ever.
The other thing that I felt was like kind of interesting too about that. Well, obviously they also dive into like people like a lot of like the collectors behind Star Wars stuff, and
Right.
they even went into like some of the like the fake Star Wars stuff that like other
Oh
them
yeah, that's
other
right.
companies which
I
is
think
interesting.
my favorite was the Turkish ones.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I thought like that one guy that was at Ranch Obi-Wan, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like that had he has like the largest Star Wars collection like
Mm-hmm.
known to man,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of interesting. And you had that. You had obviously the Phantom Menace, which ended up kind of really hurting the toy line because they talk about it's like, oh it's kind of like watching an economics lesson. I don't necessarily agree with that, but like it definitely didn't make a lot of people were unhappy with that movie at the time, especially, and
Right.
so they ended up having a lot of their toys go into the bin, as they call
Yeah.
it, the discount bin.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Which I mean,
which is
yeah, we kind of saw that happening with like the sequel trilogy, but
oh
yeah, when
god,
like, but yeah, I think the joke, especially after Last Jedi, the joke was like the Rose Tico action figure was like
yeah,
was heavily discounted in like all stores. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, like back then, like the discount bin was like the kiss of death.
oh yeah.
Like your shit isn't popular. And yeah, I'm sure there was many a Jar Jar figure in those bins.
Yeah.
Many. I mean, I'm sure like collectors, still got the Jar Jar, action figures
Of
because
course.
collectors. But for the average person, having watched Star Wars, like, dude, this character sucks. And I'm sure many a Jar Jar figure was cast away into the dreaded bin.
But I thought like what was kind of to me like the kind of like the touching part of the episode is, and this is where like and where you start to see like where the people that are making these toys, they really care about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, all the episodes that we're gonna be watching out of this, like you see like the legitimate care and thought that goes in, from these toy makers. And the guy's talking about like where he's kind of like he's like I've been making toys for 50 years, and it's like it. And the reality is like kids that are playing with this stuff, like they're in control. Like they are they can like make their own universe, with these characters. Like yeah, maybe you're having trouble at school, and you got bullies and stuff, and like you're having a bad day, but you know what? You get to go home, and it's like you control the destiny of like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo and all these characters, and you create your own universe, and I felt like it's like that's and I think he really believed that, and like, obviously you see all like the Star Wars stuff that he has in his house, from his time working for Kenner, and I was like, that's what, that's actually I'm very like humbled by that. Like the guy like could be like, oh, it's just a business, but like, no, it's more than a business. It's more than a job to these guys. They all legitimately like cared about their craft. And they weren't just like making toys just to earn a buck. They were making toys to change kids' lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, I mean, because we all play with toys, and it's like yeah, and it was a great way for kids to express themselves, and because it wasn't like you weren't just recreating scenes from like from the movie or from the TV show, but it was you're open to creating your own mythology or your own like kind of like your own fan films essentially
Yeah,
with the toys. And you could put you send Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia on different adventures, and you can come up with new and exciting ones on your own, and like fill in like the gaps and fill in the spaces in between the movies. I mean,
yeah,
kind of what they did with Clone Wars, and and I think Clone Wars was a great success, and I think because they got someone in there who really loves Star, like kind of similar like to those guys who's making the toys. You got someone in there who really loves Star Wars, in Dave Filoni, and who was, you know, to use Star Wars parlance, he was the Padawan to George Lucas's Jedi Master, and he learned from the
exactly.
Master.
And it's like, and to be honest, like part of that resonated with me too because yeah, I was an only kid, so like a lot of times I was alone, playing with like my action figures, and yeah, you create your own like fantasy, you create your own universe almost.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it was very important, that kind of play, because I had two older sisters, and so even though my dad would play with me, not all the time, and but he would take me on camping and fishing trips, but just like not having another not having a direct like a brother to like play with and stuff. It was playing with action figures and whatnot was kind of the outlet for the kind of like masculine energy,
Exactly, yeah.
because yeah, because also within my cousins, it's weird, we have like these groups where we're born in, and I was born within 6 months of two female cousins, and
Hmm.
so and so it was whenever we got together, it was rarely did we get to play what I wanted to play, because I was always outnumbered, and so we'd always kind of revert to playing. We'd always default to playing house, where what I would rather play, like GI Joe, or what, or Transformers, or what have you.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, similar to you, I can relate to that kind of play with the toys.
Yeah, but I thought this was it was really awesome to kind of learn a lot of like behind the scenes stuff about like the Star Wars toys, and you kind of get a little bit of a background on Star Wars itself too, and how how like they kind of created this symbiotic relationship in a lot of ways.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I
Um,
think Kenner is just as responsible for the Star Wars universe that we know as much as George Lucas or the writing teams are.
exactly, yeah. And yeah, they're probably partly responsible for as big as the Star Wars universe has really become now, because it's not just 9 movies. It's a whole universe of stuff now.
Hmm. Yeah, because I mean, there's comic books, there's and there's like the novels, and and the Clone War TV shows, and the Mandalorian, um,
Yeah, yeah.
and Rebels, Squadrons, maybe not so much. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's all worked together to become like this beautiful tapestry that we call Star Wars.
Yeah. But yeah, but I that's all I got to say on the Star Wars episode.
Yeah, same with me, and I guess similarly as we always done. We're gonna save the rating for after we do the entire series.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So if if you're curious, do check it out. It's still on Netflix. The Toys
Yeah,
That Made Us.
season. Yeah, Toys That Made Us. This the Star Wars episode is season 1, episode 1.
Yes. Exactly. All right. Let's wrap it up with our movie review, and let's get out of here.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Again, yeah, again, we're gonna continue this month's theme of 80s martial arts films, which have been a very big part of my life. Um, and today we're actually gonna do kind of a big one, a big mainstream success, which is the Karate Kid, that came out in 1984. Not the remake. Um, let
So
me
the
give you
remake has its merits, but it's not the original.
right. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to shit on it too much because because especially since Jaden Smith was just a kid at the time. Um, but yeah, it just doesn't hold. It just doesn't hold a candle to the original.
No, 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 definitely not.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. All right, quick synopsis. Daniel moves to Southern California with his mother, Lucille, but quickly finds himself the target of a group of bullies who study karate at Cobra Kai Dojo. Fortunately, Daniel befriends Mr. Miyagi, an unassuming repairman who just happens to be a martial arts master himself. Miyagi takes Daniel under his wing, training him in a more compassionate form of karate and preparing him to compete against the brutal Cobra Kai. Um, yeah, I initially wasn't planning on uh, having Karate Kid as part of this month's movies, uh, but I forget how we even decided. I think something that you had said.
I kind of like because I was like, oh, because I was kind of like questioning like, oh, which movies are you gonna choose, and I ran down like a list of like movies that were potential like that fit under this like genre, and you're like, oh yeah, let's do Karate Kid.
Yeah, I was a little hesitant at first, but it's like, Karate Kid did uh, have an impact, in my childhood. So because if I didn't pick Karate Kid, I probably would have gone with something with like what's his face, Steven Seagal.
Yeah,
Um, which I mean, maybe if we ever do like a part two of this, I might go back and we might do that one. We might do a Steven
I
Seagal
mean,
movie.
I know I tried to ram in Samurai Cop in this month, but like you're like
Right.
it's just not gonna happen. It's
uh, but also because with the TV show Cobra Kai that came out, that's offering this different perspective on the whole Daniel and Johnny story. I think I think it was a good idea to go back and watch this movie and maybe
See
see
where it
it
all
with
started,
what was that?
and just kind of see where it all started.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, because Cobra Kai, the TV show, it does go off this internet theory where Daniel was really the bad guy and Johnny was really the hero of the story. But I mean,
Which,
I don't
to
know.
be honest, I think
I understand the argument for that, and if you watch it in that with that lens, then yes, Daniel is the villain of the movie.
I think that theory got started from How I Met Your Mother.
No, I think How I Met Your Mother got it from this YouTuber.
Was it okay? I know like it was like right around the
Yeah, yeah,
same
yeah,
time.
yeah. I know. Yeah, because How I Met Your Mother did incorporate that. They actually incorporated Billy Zabka into the show.
Yeah,
Through Barney, because he was the one that presented the theory that Billy Zabka's Johnny Lawrence was actually the hero.
right, because like he is the Karate Kid. Yes.
Yeah, I mean
um,
technically speaking, yes, because he was the one that trained in karate. He was the one that was the master, or at least like better trained. Uh, maybe not morally better trained, but in terms of skill, he was the better trained Karate Kid.
right, right. Um, so I mean, some things like about the internet theory too. Like now that I've it's because it's been a long ass time since I've watched the original Karate Kid. I don't even know if I've seen the sequels. But anyways, um, I have to say that I don't think that theory holds up based off of like watching the movie. Now, do I feel? I kind of feel like it. Well, I don't think it was necessarily like Johnny that was necessarily like a bad kid, but I think the influences in his life were bad, including the leader of the Cobra Kai dojo, who was pretty much was pushing those kids to the edge in a lot of ways, and really like our main character, he's just trying to he's hanging out with this girl and his friends at the beach, and Johnny just kind of comes up on his dirt bike to confront his ex girlfriend and like starts smashing the radio and trying to do all this sort of stuff, and uh they just he tries to come up and defend her, and that's where the whole thing starts.
Right. But yeah, there is several points of escalation um, on both parts because it was Johnny who later on runs Daniel down a hill for
Yeah,
no reason, like no provocation. He just like him and his buddy on their on their dirt bikes, surround Daniel, as he's riding home, and then all of a sudden like they like force him down the embankment, nearly killing him really, and just and damaging his bike,
yeah.
and then but then Daniel then escalates again by setting up a hose system in the hose in the bathroom and like turning it on Johnny, while he was in the stall, rolling up a joint. Um,
I totally forgot about that scene too, by the way.
yeah. Um, and then Johnny again, escalates by by running him down and kicking the shit out of him. And it was interesting because like there was like a voice of reason in that group where like one of his friends was like, oh, okay, Johnny, he's had enough. But again, because like they're all students of was it Reese, the sensei of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah like because they're all his students. It's like, oh, no mercy. and so Johnny was about to gonna take it. He could have potentially taken it to the next level, and by next level I mean like killed Daniel.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the timely intervention of Mr. Miyagi, of course. Um, but yeah, I think to address the whole thing about whether Daniel's a real villain or not, I think we both concluded that the sensei of Cobra Kai, John Kreese, yeah, Kreese, John
Yeah.
Kreese, he was actually the villain of the movie because even during the tournament, he instructs one of his students to play dirty and to take out Daniel of the tournament, even at the expulsion of that student,
Yeah.
or disqualification of that student for doing so. After that student does dispatch Daniel, I at the time as a child I saw that scene where he goes up to him and it's like, oh Daniel, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I viewed that as like as a mockery of
Yeah. It's
Daniel.
like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's
Yeah,
but
but
when you look
yeah,
at it,
seeing it
no,
again.
it was genuine.
Yeah, but seeing it again, yeah, I see yeah, he was genuine with that. Like he really felt remorse. He really didn't want to do that. He just felt like pressured to do that because the sensei told him to do so. Um, so
The
yeah, the real
yeah.
villain of Karate Kid is John Kreese, the sensei of Cobra Kai.
Yeah, but this is a good movie. Like, I mean, it's from 1984.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously everyone talks about like the Karate Kid. The wax on, wax off. All that kind of stuff. And it's been parodied and talked about like in so many different like formats.
Mm-hmm.
But actually going back, rewatching it, seeing it again with a fresh perspective, I have to say I really like this movie a lot. You
Yeah,
have
because if anything, it totally dismantled the idea of the mystical Eastern teacher who makes you carry buckets of water up like stairs, or is will just beat you if you get something wrong. But
right.
it's Mr. Miyagi came to approach to training was very much demystified. It was a very demystified way where he through he was this was kind of ahead of his time, but the whole idea of muscle memory and repetition as training.
Yeah.
And so he took the moves and he incorporated into everyday tasks, which then which doing being repetitive would condition Daniel's body to move that way naturally, as opposed to it's like, okay, we're gonna do this special thing and you have to align your chakras, and then then you'll become a karate master. But no, Mr. Miyagi dispensed with all of the ritual, or and the mysticism of karate. And it's like, yeah, this is what you do. You put your arm like this, you block like this, you block like that, hands here, hands there.
Yeah.
And
because he taught Daniel to have like I said, he was all these tasks that he was doing all day long, and then he would finish them, and he would give him some more tasks, and you're doing this, you're doing that, and you have to do it this way, and he would do all that, and then towards after 4 days doing that, Daniel's he was fed up. It's essentially fuck this, you're not teaching me anything. I'm just doing I'm not your damn slave.
mm-hmm.
And it's and he showed him what the point was. All right, show me wax on, wax off. Show me those moves. No, don't go on the ground. Show me what you do. And it's and then from there it's he just went with muscle memory. It's all right, now lock your wrist, more of a
tuck your thumb in, snap it,
And then it's that, and from there it's then he got it. It's oh, you were teaching me this entire time,
Mm-hmm.
and like you kind of like got me, 90% there, and then like you're giving me a little bit of instruction to like solidify like the teaching.
Right.
It's and um I think there was like, kind of that was like really. I don't think any other martial arts movie has done that
Right. I mean,
before or since.
to contrast it with last week's movie Bloodsport, where everything was like very ritualized, and there was like certain elements of mysticism, like like with the dim mak, or you know
Yeah,
or switching out like the coin in the bar, um, and all that. But here you have the opposite, where it's just like I'm just gonna get your body used to all of like the gross like kind of muscle movements. And gross, I mean like just like big, like the bigger muscle movements, and then like go in later and like slowly refine things.
I think the only like really like quote unquote mystical like kind of experience thing was like Mr. Miyagi teaching Daniel about like pruning bonsai trees.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Right, that was more of
Outside of
like
that, like
yeah, that was more like trust yourself. If it comes from you, then it's good, and or it's right, or yeah, that was about maybe and that and like the healing hand thing.
yeah,
Yeah, those were about those are the only two like kind of like mystical like woo wise like ancient sensei thing that he did.
um, but the other thing that I thought was interesting about the movie is obviously you have there's no dad figure in Daniel's life. His dad, we never see him, we don't hear about him, but he's just not
Right.
there.
Right.
And his mom,
We assume that his dad left him and his mom.
yeah, and then you have his mom who's trying to make like a better life for them,
Hmm.
yet it's also not. She starts off with like it's never explicitly said, but like it seems like she starts off moving over to California to do one thing, and then she ends up like kind of like well that didn't work out, so I'm going to do this thing, and trying to make it like oh we're don't worry, we're gonna make things meet, and like she's trying to be like a mom, a friend, and a dad all at the same time, which it's all things considered, Daniel kind of became like a pretty solid kid despite all that. But there's no dad figure, and where he really like ends up, he definitely has like a lot of angst. But after meeting like Mr. Miyagi and kind of like understanding him and learning from him, you can definitely tell that like kind of um, funneled him in like a good direction.
Right. Yeah. Because right. Yeah. He felt very resentful towards his mom, especially after that tumble, like because of Johnny and the kid. Like, and he has like that kind of breakdown where it's like oh, I just want to go home where everything makes sense.
That was a
Um.
powerful scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um. And it's like yeah, the mom was just trying to make it everything's rainbows and unicorn farts.
Yeah,
Um.
the other thing too, with like that relationship with like him and Mr. Miyagi too was like Mr. Miyagi, his we come to it's never also this movie also does a great job. It doesn't necessarily like spell everything out, but you kind of you infer from the scene, and like it doesn't tell you everything. You figure it out. It's not. It kind of like lets things naturally like you're like oh that's you feel the tragedy without it being like told to you essentially.
Right. Or it's
And
not, or it's revealed, but it's revealed in a very minimalist way,
yeah,
where
uh
you kind of like Mr. Miyagi, he obviously has like some sort of he obviously has a history, but it's not expressly stated. And Mr. Miyagi obviously you know has some sort of tragedy in his life that like kind of hinted at here and there, but not uh, expressly verbalized
Right.
until that point where um, until he has that little break little tiny and I'm sorry I'm using this word, don't hate me, but that chink in his armor where
You racist.
I know I'm racist. Well, he is a nip, all right. He raped my grand his people raped my grandmother.
um,
um, but yeah, and like and he reveals like the source of like his pain or his his sorrow.
yeah,
Um,
because it's revealed that his wife and young child died in Manzanar,
mhm.
from like his wife died from like childbirth complications while he was off fighting for I think the army
Right.
in World War II,
Mhm.
and since then he's never really like remarried or anything like that,
Mhm.
and
Right. Yeah. He lost
Daniel,
his family, and then here's this angsty kid that kind of like in Bloodsport, where Tanaka's son dies, and all he has left is Frank to share his knowledge with and pour all of his knowledge into Frank. Um,
yeah,
Miyagi has all Miyagi has left is Daniel, and what does he do? He pours all of his knowledge into Daniel.
right, and yeah, and I like I said, it's just such a like a powerful moment, and it's not the Kumite, but it's kind of like similar where Daniel's not only like fighting to for his own like sake, but like in a way he's fighting for Mr. Miyagi. I mean, like he's given like kind of the gi with like his wife's symbol on there. So
Right.
he's
Yeah.
he's kind of like fighting for the Miyagi family in a way too.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. And then yeah, like when Mr. Miyagi gives him the gi with the patch that his wife was made for him. That was I think that was his like saying like, oh, you're part of my family now.
Yeah,
You know.
and like he said, he gave him he gave him one of his cars. He gave him that gi with that patch, and it was kind of like the patch, like you have earned this. That you're like my son.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even the keys to the car had his as Mr. Miyagi's old dog tags on
Exactly, and that was such a powerful moment,
them. Hmm.
and I don't think Daniel took that for granted either.
No. I mean, subsequently in the Cobra Kai TV show, Daniel goes on to be a very successful, uh, car salesman, and like to the point where like he even has like two or three of his own dealerships.
Yeah,
Um, probably a little bit to do with his experience with Mr. Miyagi, and he every with every purchase of a car, he gifts each of his customers a bonsai tree.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
But also interestingly enough, something that I realized that from Cobra Kai, when Johnny is complaining about like, oh, you kicked me in the face, that was illegal. When just prior to Daniel executing the crane kick, Johnny kicks Daniel in the face, but he's not. Johnny's not penalized or or censored. Uh,
right,
or
yeah, you're right.
about that. So it's like well at least like in Cobra Kai it's like it doesn't track because you kicked them previous in the previous bout you kicked them in the face and you weren't penalized. So Daniel kicking you in the face to win the tournament is fair.
I would say so. Yeah, I always say like I didn't think that the crane kick was like real until I actually watched like there was a UFC fighter named Machida who
Yeah.
threw a crane kick on somebody and knocked him out. I was like, oh shit, that's real. It blew my mind. I was like, oh shit, I thought that was like all bullshit. But this guy just did the crane kick.
Yeah. Sometimes movies have little kernels of truth.
Yeah. If executed properly, no can defend.
Yeah. Good callback. Good callback. Liked it.
But I had to say this movie, like, I highly recommend it, dude. I thought this movie's awesome. Especially watching it now as an older man and with a different lens. I really love this movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still love this movie, and I never really, put much stock in like in that internet theory, but it was a fun thing to think about. But again,
and I think I hadn't watched because I watched this a long time ago, and then I heard that theory. I was like, that's maybe you're. Oh, I never thought of it that way. But then like, now watching that movie, understanding that theory and all that stuff, is like, I don't know. I don't think that theory holds up.
No, yeah, I mean, especially since we come to the conclusion that the real villain was John Kreese, because he was poor, he wasn't training his students properly.
Yeah.
And he was he was actively making them go against like their own better instincts, like with that
right.
one, like again with that one student that that went for Daniel's knee. He's like, oh, sensei, he told the sensei that, oh, I could beat this guy. And then
right.
John Kreese was like, no, I don't want him beat. I want him destroyed.
Right. It's like, that's the real villain of the movie.
Yeah, it's the real villain of the movie.
Anything else that you have to say about Karate Kid before we call it a night?
No, I said everything I have to say.
I think like maybe you didn't do this like necessarily on purpose, but this has kind of become a secondary machismo month, or at least in a lot of ways, it's guys fighting machismo through
ass kicking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have like Frank from Bloodsport and Daniel in Karate Kid, where both these guys don't really have like necessarily as like maybe a strong like father figure, and they find father figures that teach them the ways of like martial arts, and they end up going on this journey that makes them into real men.
So maybe instead of 80s martial arts movies month, it's unexpected lessons month.
I would say like so we did the machismo month. This is finding machismo month.
Okay. Okay, I can see that. Yeah. Oh, one really quick thing, like that beach scene with Allie, the character of Allie, and Daniel was like teaching her how to like dribble a ball, and she like purposely kicked the ball away, and I was wondering if if she did that because she was trying to get rid of Daniel. I think it was because she spotted Johnny and his crew on the top of the hill, and to like kind of save Daniel, she kicks the ball away.
Now because initially I was like, is she just like tired of him?
Yeah.
But then obviously like, throughout the movie, like obviously there's a relationship that develops. So I actually think it's the latter, like of like she was actually trying to protect him.
Yeah, because like she probably saw like they don't like do like the cut scene where it's like she sees Johnny and his friends on top of the hill. It's like, oh geez, and like, oh, Daniel, it's like, whoop, whoop, and like, kick the ball away, and it's like, oh, go get the ball, so he could like, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, I know they don't expressly say that, but I think that's what that was, because I think like her, like, they were getting very close, like, she was like trying it, and like she fell backwards onto him, and they're like laughing and giggling. But then also like after that whole scene at the beach, like she still tried to reach out to him.
Right.
And so yeah, I think that scene where she kicks the ball for him to go chase after is her trying to save him from Johnny.
Right. Yeah. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. Again, not expressly said, because I think a way for that to be reinforced is like her like kind of laughing and then looking up in the hill, and then like kind of reverse shot, at Johnny and his crew, on top of the hill, and then Allie kind of like, oh crap, and then another reverse shot back to Daniel and her kicking the soccer ball away.
Yeah, I think that's it's funny like you talked about that. And I was kind of like thinking because I was thinking about that same scene this week as well, and I was like, I think yeah, we kind of came to the same conclusion.
Right. Yeah. So Allie wasn't being a bitch. She was trying to save Daniel.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Should we give our ratings then?
All right. Let's give our rating for this movie.
I'm gonna get. I think this movie is really good. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Again, I think this might be we're gonna agree again. I was possibly thinking of giving it a 4.5, but it's like, oh, that's too high. Not,
Yeah, I
even
was
for
like,
this movie.
I can't go that high, but
Yeah.
Like I said, I like the characters. I think I like the story. It's yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. And I think, yeah, and I think like that whole internet theory of how Johnny's like, I think that was like a little bit of like postmodernism. I think that might have been like postmodern inversion, where it's like, oh no, the bad guy has to be the good guy. But even though we came to this conclusion that actually John Kreese, the sensei of Cobra Kai, was the actual villain.
Yeah.
But again,
And
it's still a fun idea to play with.
yeah, I mean, trust me, I love good alternate theories. That was definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've kind of investigated a little further, I would say like, no, I can't go that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, there you have it. That's our review of The Karate Kid from 1984. Both Robert and I give it a 4. We definitely recommend it. And it's still very family friendly. So yeah, so
Yeah.
if you have kids, introduce them to this. And also and then also you can go watch Cobra Kai together, because that's another series that I think we would highly recommend.
Yeah.
Because I think kind of similarly to this, the first Karate Kid, the first season of Cobra Kai is kind of, Johnny finding his balls again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, give it a watch. I don't know. I would recommend watching like the trilogy of Karate Kid movies, just so you can have a sense. I mean, because especially it might bear out as being useful in the subsequent seasons of Cobra Kai. But
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen any of the sequels.
yeah, the second one was good. Second one was like, it was funny because like it introduced this Japanese actress. I forget what her name is, but she does a lot of stuff, and she does a lot of genre stuff. So like a lot of science fiction and whatnot.
I know the really shitty Karate Kid NES game was based off of the second movie.
The second movie, yeah, yeah, yeah. but it's
God,
a good one. But yeah, she was like the first like attractive like Asian person I've ever like Asian woman I remember.
Ooh, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, three kind of. I mean, I know I get it, like because Daniel gets older and it slightly gets off the path of like the whole like mentor teacher overcoming the odds kind of thing, but it's still a good movie, or at least I enjoyed it, or I still
Yeah,
enjoy it.
we'll
I
have
mean,
to
I don't.
definitely check out the sequels.
Yeah, I just maybe wouldn't recommend the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank.
Well, you've already turned me off with Hilary Swank being.
Yeah, but
And I will say that like I don't, you know how much I really don't like remakes for the most part.
mhm,
I will say that I do not hate the Karate Kid remake with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan.
mhm,
Um, it does it have the same charm as this movie? No,
no.
but it has its own moments.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think yeah. I mean, some of the scenes in the remake, you know, they're pretty good.
I mean, they call it Karate Kid, but it really should be Kung Fu Kid. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they could have called it anything else. They could have kept everything else, but they could have called it something else.
Probably should be called Kung Fu Kid, especially since it's in China.
Maybe or West meets East.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, essentially, yeah, because it's Jaden is yeah, it's Jaden and his mom going to China because her job in Detroit was shipped to China, but for some reason they hired her or they kept her on for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Is
Yeah,
it? Yeah. Like I said, not as good as the original, but it's not a completely awful movie.
no. Yeah, and I think people were a little too harsh with their criticisms of the movie. Um,
Yeah.
sometimes when it's on TV, I find myself watching it.
Yeah.
So there you have it. All right, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. We do this every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock ish. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows, the Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and LetterboxD uh, at podcastcoj, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. Bless you.
Yeah.
Um, um, yeah, and that'll do it for us tonight. We'll see you next week. We'll do it all over again.
Alrighty.